Hi everyone, well it is my birthday and do you know what? I went to Ayers Rock or Uluru 2 years ago and I've got all this footage and I made a few discoveries which I haven't told you about yet. Can you believe it? I've been keeping stuff from you, but no longer. It's going to be revealed. Now the first one is that Ayers Rock is covered with a sort of mud layer. That's right, there is a mud layer. Is this from, what's it from? I don't know what it's from. Is it from the Great Flood? Who knows? Another thing, and this will be in the next video, there was a totem pole on Ayers Rock, and this speaks of ancient Eurasian traditions. So there was a migration to Australia unknown in ancient times, and they set up their traditions in Australia actually much more recently than we realise. Not every Aboriginal legend might be from, say, 60,000 years ago. Guys, this is so interesting. Enjoy. If you look at Uluru, you can see the exterior and the interior are totally different colours. If I zoom into this feature here, and I just focus, there we go, look. It is the interior is a totally different colour. It's just unbelievable, unbelievable. It's a sort of grey. If I go over here, you can see it's like bits have been caked onto it, you see. All those holes and things, the whole thing looks like one huge mudslide. I mean, look at it. It's like a mudslide. That's what it really is. I'm in the middle of nowhere and I'm all out of water. There's nothing. Oh no! It's all gone! The Ayers Rock material is really very different from the material you find at Kata Tjuka, for example. It's really fine sand. I mean, just look at this. It's just sort of fine stuff, but it's still a conglomerate. It's still mashed up together. It's still amazing. We've got this weird honeycomb sort of cave stuff, and I'm sure there's an indigenous story associated with this. And many
of the caves are actually said to be prints of extinct animals, footprints and so forth, which is rather interesting because it would imply this was once all molten or something. So unlike Kata Tjuka, Ayers rock itself seems to be this type of mixture of sandstone but also dolerite, and apparently it's very hard. It's some kind of volcanic rock mixed with the softer sand. But we don't know what's going on here. This is crazy. I mean, I don't know what's going on here. There's caves everywhere. This is unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. Okay, a lot of this is just seems to be a vitrified type of stone, and then mud's been caked on top. Look at this. Here we have a newer sort of stone that's been placed on top. This is the whole of Ayers rock, right? And it's quite hard as anything, really hard. And then this stuff here, it crumbles away. I could break that off. It just crumbles. So it's vitrified on the surface. So has it just been cooked by the sun or lightning or whatever?
I have always been told that Ayers rock and the far more impressive nearby Olgers, now called Kata Tjuka, which feels like walking on the surface of Mars when you visit, were large rocks, uplifted sediment, cooked and metamorphic, which is now being eroded. Quite wrong. The entire structures seem to be a victim of a great catastrophe or flood. And I see that none of the explanations deal with the fact the structure must have actually been formed rather suddenly. First, let us deal with the current explanation. It is bizarrely unsatisfying. It is of the uniformitist or Darwinian school, suggesting that everything formed exquisitely slowly and in minute detail. Here is why it's wrong. You visit the site and you see that all the desert rocks, which you find all over the place, and in Ayers rock and the Olgers, have been collected together and glued together with mud. This mud structure extends all the way up, and it is very hard to see the underlying sedimentary layers which are supposedly being eroded. In fact, the underlying layers and even the caves have been covered in this mudstone. There was an Ayers rock before the current form, and it was certainly a sedimentary outcrop lying on its side, but this has been covered up. There are two explanations of what has occurred. There is the regular cogent explanation we get from geology textbooks. There is also the explanation that happened more recently. Off the bat, I'm not a creationist. I believe Earth is billions of years old, but Ayers rock and the Olgers are not entirely of this age. People believe that any structure was only formed at one time, like a building, and never touched again, and that's that, ignoring the possibility of reformation of something else interfering and changing what's happened. If you go there, however, you see a different explanation from what the geologists possibly say. It looks as if the whole thing is covered in pudding stone, which is extraordinary. The whole thing is a very hard, dark volcanic rock, which appears to, in some places, be dark blue or black. I know that the entire structure was covered over with mudstone because the same thing happened to the Bosnian pyramids. The Bosnian pyramids appear to be mountains carved into the shape of step pyramids, then covered with this stone, this pudding stone. Pudding stone is just mud, and it's not going to form level pathways and geometrical shapes that we see at the Bosnian pyramids. At the end of the day, there are no experts and nobody honestly has much of a clue. Now, I think what's happened at Ayers rock may have been an impact event, also explaining the presence of the Olgers, and I think this was all created from a supervolcano which erupted immediately at once, causing a great catastrophe. Now, why two sets of rocks with a similar pattern next to each other, built in the same way, the Olgers and Ayers rock? Other examples of impact or even supervolcano events are the Great Lakes, for instance. We see huge areas carved out as if something had struck the earth. So why are they concentrated together? Also in Victoria, Port Phillip and Western Port Bays in Victoria next to each other, I think also supervolcano lakes. And early European explorers actually could not believe there were identical bays next to each other, thinking it was only one bay. The result was that the settlement of Melbourne was delayed for 30 years beyond all the other cities in Australia because honestly they were confused. So I said to the bus driver, isn't it funny that there are not more mountains of the style of Ayers rock? And he agreed. We simply do not know why. Were they quarried away for cement? Or were these only formed during some rare cataclysm and they are not part of the regular natural process that we see in the Northern Territory? So what's going on here anyway? I believe global catastrophe or even explosion due to some catastrophic impact forced the collection of rocks here. Whenever this occurred, it occurred during a time of catastrophe and very quickly. Now, you can see lava flows at the Olgas, which are extraordinary. Yet there is no lava explanation of this according to conventional geology. Parts exposed to water erosion actually exhibit a blue-black colour where iron oxide has been washed away. Now, so I think the geological explanations are simply completely unsatisfying. And as soon as I realised the enormous geological error, I decided to remain on site with visits to the nearby Olgas for about a week to see what's going on. So one problem with the appearance of Ayers rock is actually the surface. There appear to be craters, as if parts of Ayers rock have been actually blasted away with explosive. Some of these holes, or caves as they are called, are actually then covered over with the mudslide. So after coming to this conclusion simply from walking around the site and seeing how it could all have formed, I found an article from 1984 online advocating the theory of a young Ayers rock. I am not a creationist, but you do not have to be one to see their argument that the soft sandstone which Ayers rock is turning into, or has even become clay due to the leaching of the feldspar material, could not have endured, as they say, for 600 million years, or there would be nothing left. The Olgas are way more bizarre than Ayers rock and way higher. This area is called the Valley of the Winds. Suddenly the winds pick up strongly as if from nowhere, very mysterious. This anomaly led Aboriginals to suspect the spirits of the creative force of the Dreamtime still lingered here. You can even see pools of water and also a species of wattle which is specific to the Olgas. Parts of Ayers rock appear shiny and vitrified. Bits of Ayers rock appear to have been literally melted into other bits. It's weird. Then there is this honeycomb problem. What's going on with that? Erosion started from the outside, or was it formed that way? We see Ayers rock eroding from within, honeycombing from within, rotting from within. Some bits are so weak that they literally fell away, yet they did so long before the entire structure was coated in the more recent layers of what can only be described as mud or cement. So, Ayers rock, it's actually very different to the Olgas. It seems to be made up of a much finer sand. Indeed, it appears to be a sort of metamorphic rock which has been pulverized and incorporated into a sandstone, which in some places is halfway to marble. Observe as this stone is solid, but another part can be scratched away like cement, as I showed you in that clip. Now, Ayers rock is supposedly 6 kilometers deep. And to this day you can see how it all flooded together because of the area around it is a floodplain which was then filled in after Ayers rock supposedly formed from this very gradual flood. And there are supposedly fossils of shrimps on top. To summarise, some ancient peoples blasted out caves, all these naturally formed, but then the entire structure was covered over in some huge cataclysm. Now, there's another explanation. Ayers rock is inside a flood plain. But I don't see how this is rising up and covering it with this mud layer. Something else happened, something dramatic. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Cheers!
So apparently all this grass is from South Africa and doesn't even belong here. And the kangaroos actually stay away from this area because they can't even eat this grass. So it's just unbelievable, you know. Same thing's happened to the Amazon. I mean, look at the Amazon. It's all introduced species. The whole Amazon is introduced species. That's why it's out of control, just like this is out of control.